Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the AI InterConnect podcast. I'm your host, Lauren. On this show, we speak with founders and operators building real system across AI, SaaS, and tech-driven industries. AI InterConnect is a platform where leaders share what is actually working, what is challenging, and what the futures look like from inside the business. Today, I'm joined by Bill Kurtzner, founder of CostSaving.ai and Util Auditors. CostSaving AI help businesses identify billing errors and inefficiency using AI-driven invoice analysis and automated audit recommendation. Bill, thank you so much for being here. Very, very happy to have you on the show.
Yeah, Laurent, thanks so much for having me.
That's great. I'd love to start with your background so listeners understand the path that led you here. You have a very niche background in cost containment and utility auditing, and that pattern recognition is rare. Bill, how did your background in specialized invoice auditing and cost containment lead you to build util auditors and later evolve into cost saving AI?
Sure. So 15 years ago, I started working with a family-owned and operated organization that did utility bill auditing. They audited just electricity, natural gas, and water sewer. I became a manager there, and when I left the company, my vision was to expand into helping the customers that we were helping in those areas into other areas of spend, waste removal, telecommunications, other areas of operational spend, and they did not share the same vision. So I left. I started Util Auditors with a business partner 13 years ago. We quickly realized that if we wanted to service enterprise level organizations that had sometimes thousands of locations, we had to develop a system by which we could organize and efficiently get through that process. What we did was we ended up building our own CRM, PRM, um, client facing interface is Views 360, through which we perform all of our audits, assign audit opportunities to our auditors, and deliver results to the customers. So that's where the whole journey started. From that point, on the merit of Views 360, we earned the opportunity to service customers into the Fortune and Forbes top 20. So we've audited clients in Walgreens, Home Depot, MC Theaters, Burlington Stores, Bayer, CMEX, Enterprise Rent-A-Car, many large organizations with sometimes thousands of locations. And the technology is what allowed us to do that.
I'm impressed. Very cool. That's a good start. Then, okay, these huge monsters, large multi-site companies. What did that phase teach you about inefficiency and scale at scale?
Yeah, so what we recognized was that errors and inefficiency in billing across different areas of spend, whether it was utilities or contracted services like telecom or waste removal, existed in every situation for companies that are at scale. A lot of times companies rubber stamp billing. So they get an invoice in, the invoice is what it is, they pay it, it's a cost of doing business, and they go to the next month. Unfortunately, they get nickel and dimed a lot. So what we found was that we were finding significant savings across all the areas that we audit for these enterprise level companies. What we quickly realized was that the delimiting factor was that the companies that we were working for had to have a large aggregate spend in the recurring operating expense categories that we were auditing, which meant that we really couldn't help the smaller customers. If they didn't spend a certain amount of money, then it wasn't worth our time or theirs to go through the process manually and produce results for them because we're compensated on a contingent fee basis.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. Looking back, what did you underestimate when you first entered this industry 30 years ago?
Interestingly enough, when I first entered the industry, I underestimated how unsaturated it was. One of the first clients that we onboarded was Cemex, which is a big Fortune 250 cement manufacturer here in the U.S. They had just recently acquired Rinker Materials, and when we onboarded them, the controller that I spoke with had never heard of what we do. And as a Fortune 250 company and the controller of a big company like that, I was blown away by the fact that they had no idea that they could be overpaying for utilities. So I quickly realized there was an opportunity there, and that's when we really started to expound on the opportunity with Util auditors.
Okay. Yeah, that for sure. So strange as well. Uh, your positioning as a department of efficiency for businesses is, and it's very clear and practical. When you explain CostSaving.ai or and Util auditing to someone outside of the industry, how describe what you actually do and who you help?
Sure. So we cast a bit of a wide net. We're unique in that aspect, in that a lot of companies in our industry will audit, one area of spend, energy or waste or water or electricity, etc. We audit 12 areas of spend. When we go through the audit process in each area, we're looking for different things. Sometimes it's overcharges. A lot of times it's inefficiency. So we're looking for better ways for them to be billed for the services that they're using. So it differs from an efficiency audit, which, for example, you look at a facility's electricity and you say, you can install LED lights or controls to turn off and on the lights when people are not in the room, etc. Those measures are going to reduce consumption. But what we do is look at what you are using, even if you have those efficiency measures in place, and assuring that you're being charged the least possible based on available rate structures for the service that you need. It's similar in telecommunications and waste removal, where over time, and you've probably experienced this with like cell phone billing, where you see these offers for new customers and you've been with a company for a while. And you're like, why am I not getting the same rate as them? I've been with you for 10 years and I'm paying more than what a new customer is paying. Doesn't exactly make sense. So we make sure that the price you're paying is in line with what the market dictates, taking advantage of available programs, benefits, incentives, market pricing, all those things to assure that you're paying the least for the services that you need.
Love it. Okay, then who gets the most value from your solution today? Enterprise client or small businesses?
So with Util auditors, we always were forced to focus on working with the enterprise level customers. With CostSavings.com, what we did from Util was take all the knowledge that we gained working for these huge companies for over a decade, put it into an agentic AI. We received a patent, which is entitled Automated Audits and Recommendation Systems and Methods. We built out an agentic AI where small businesses can upload an invoice, just one invoice, and get feedback on whether or not they're overpaying for the services that they're using. So we're trying to extend the opportunity that a lot of these enterprise companies take advantage of to service the small business market using the same knowledge, but leveraging AI to do that.
Makes sense. What's what is the core difference between manual audits and your AI driven automated audit system?
Sure. So a manual audit is typically only warranted if a company spends over a certain amount because it's contingent fee based. So if we're looking at an aggregate spend of X amount of dollars, we're going to get paid a percentage of what the cost savings are. For a company like Walgreens or Home Depot, they spend a lot of money on things like waste removal, telecommunications, energy, other things. So that aggregate sum, if we save them a small percentage, is still a lot of money. It's worth having somebody go through manually, look at all the details, point out opportunities, implement potential savings measures. For small businesses that might have one or two locations and don't spend that type of aggregate spend on these operational expenses, the AI allows us to have them just simply upload an invoice or an invoice and contract, and it will tell them a savings range give them the steps to implement what it is that we found and the backing to support why they're requesting a reduction to what we would typically do manually, but to where it doesn't make sense for us to do it for a small business.
Yeah. Okay, that's great. When I mean, you are you're operating in a space that is both technical and trust driven, which creates unique execution pressure. And right now, Bill, what feels like the hardest part of running and scaling cost saving AI while also managing the legacy system model of util auditors?
So we leverage the AI that we built that we're delivering direct to consumers. So the kind of B2C model with CostSavings.com, that same technology we've been able to leverage on the backside for the larger consulting customers that we deal with. So we can use the AI technology that would be used to audit a single bill for like mom and pop's pizza shop for waste removal to audit, individual locations for someone that has 100 locations on the enterprise side to make it more efficient, faster, even more thorough, really, than what a manual audit used to be able to produce. And it cuts the time down, which, with respect to cost savings, time is of the essence. So if we find savings in 2 weeks and another company would find savings in 6 weeks, those savings being implemented weeks faster results in both savings for them and revenue for us. So it's a win-win-win all the way around for the customer.
That's great. Is the biggest friction product adoption, market education, or positioning?
I would say that there's obviously there because AI is new but evolving so quickly. There's still hesitation regarding the efficacy or the accuracy of the output, right? So you hear about things like hallucinations and other things. We've had to navigate that where our AI is developed so that we have SMLs, SLMs, I'm sorry, small language models that are specifically trained in each area of spend. So for example, when we're auditing an electricity bill, we will have, rate tariff structures that are published, public rate tariff structures for multiple utilities loaded into that language model. The language model does not have to go retrieve those, and that allows us to more quickly and more accurately deliver results when we get invoices in from that particular utility or market. We can obviously expand on that if we get customers in markets that we do not have current rate tariffs loaded in and easily update that so that the AI is leveraging that information for the same purpose. The AI enables us to infinitely expand and more importantly, be able to service a uh, unlimited number of customers simultaneously because it doesn't sleep, it doesn't get tired, it works 24/7.
Yeah. Yeah, no, of course. What challenges came up when transitioning from enterprise only audits to a membership model for small businesses?
So we do still have the consulting side. So we haven't gotten rid of the human in the loop. And I would say for the most part, the reason that we can't do that is the implementation. So, for example, the AI can analyze the invoices and identify errors and inefficiencies and make recommendations. But at the end of the day, somebody has to contact the provider. Somebody has to do that negotiation, which is typically done manually. And they want to be a knowledgeable individual that's discussing the terms that they're trying to negotiate for with somebody else on the other side of the table. So there's still that human in the loop aspect to the AI, but it does enable us to get through large scale multi-location audits. And the reality is when the AI goes through the audit process, there's many times when it may not identify errors, which is something that we also come across as auditors. If you're being billed correctly, you get a clean bill of health. That's fine. Most of the time, you are being billed correctly. So we're looking for needles in a haystack, and the AI helps us weed through those needles in a haystack and find those savings, and our implementers can get those savings implemented for our clients much more quickly.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. Across many industries, I see companies overpaying for services without even realizing it. And your work sits directly at that intersection. That's weird. Very clear. From your vantage point in cost optimization and AI auditing, what shift matter most right now that most businesses still underestimate?
So for CostSavings.com, our goal was really to, productize AI. A lot of businesses realize that they probably should be leveraging AI in some way. Most products that they're seeing for AI offer soft cost savings. So for example, somebody's going to post content for you. Somebody's going to do lead generation for you. These are agentic AI agents. They're going to save you X amount of hours per month. Those are soft cost savings. It's all hypothetical. One of the biggest differentiators with our product is we're identifying hard cost savings. So it's finite, it's measurable. If your waste bill, we realize, you're going to save $50 a month, you take the recommendation, you follow the steps, you implement the savings. The next month, our AI is going to analyze the same invoice and realize that you implemented the recommendation. So it'll show you how much money you saved across multiple areas of spend on an ongoing basis. So it's a little bit different. It delivers hard cost savings. So it's a really viable use case of AI, to where most businesses are like, I should be leveraging AI, but I don't know where to start. If I do start in like these certain areas, it's kind of hard to measure what the result is. That's not an issue with our products. We deliver hard cost savings that are finite and measurable, and we report back to the customer on what we're saving them based on the recommendation. So I would say that's probably a pretty big differentiator between what our platform does and some other like agentic AIs.
That's very interesting. Are companies becoming more aware of these hidden billing inefficiencies?
Yeah, so a couple years ago, the new administration here in the United States kind of really shone a flashlight on the fact that government organizations are really overspending for a lot of things. It doesn't stop there, though, with respect to private organizations and small businesses and pretty much everyone. You hear the age old adage, you can get nickel and dime to death. It's true. It happens a lot of times. And it's unfortunate. But a lot of times people are overpaying for the operational expenses that they require to run their business. They continue to pay and overpay for those because they look at them as a necessary cost of doing business, and they can't function without electricity. They can't function without waste removal. They can't function without telephones. So when they see something that they think is wrong, they don't necessarily have a leg to stand on or the supporting information to go back to their provider and say, hey, I think I'm overpaying for this. I think I'm being overcharged. So they don't go through that process. So, we try to provide them with a means and the supporting documentation and information to approach their providers and say, hey, listen, my neighbor's paying half as much as I am for the same waste container that's being picked up on the same frequency. Why am I paying double? So they would not normally know that, but we do. So that's what we try to do is arm them with the knowledge and information they need to go back to their providers and pay what they rightfully should.
Yeah, there's so many discrepancy. I mean, it makes so much sense, and we don't think of it. But what misconception do businesses have about cost auditing and expense optimization?
It's a good question. One of the common, rebuttals we get, if you will, is that it's going to take, too much time. Unfortunately, people will ask me all the time, like, hey, what area of spend do you think we could save the most amount of money in? And my knee-jerk answer is time. We've had companies that have deliberated signing a contract with us to look at the billing for 6 months, only to finally do so and find out that we find, you know, 50, $100,000 a month in savings. Now they've lost 100% of those 6 months of savings deliberating whether or not they should do this. Time costs companies a lot of money. Inaction, unfortunately, costs more than action. At the end of the day, you're either going to pay what you're paying now, or you're going to pay less. If you pay what you're paying now, you don't owe us anything. So it's very low risk, high potential reward, proposition, and you don't know what you don't know. Many of the companies that we work with have very adept internal human resources, energy managers, sustainability managers, IT directors, logistics managers, and they've been in their role for quite some time. They it's not their fault. They can become complacent, or they've only had so many roles with so many companies to where they've only seen so many contracts and so many terms, and we're dealing with those contracts and terms on a daily basis. Like I said, it's they're not going to have be privy to what their neighbor is paying for the same exact service. We know that, so we leverage that information to their benefit.
That's great. Okay, okay. Then, what signal do you personally track to understand where the market is going?
So as
Anything?
mentioned, in 2021, we filed for our patent. We had a little bit of foresight to realize that, specifically as it pertains to accounting and other industries that are very data and calculation, driven, we might be exposed or at risk. AI might pose a potential risk to putting us out of a job, essentially. Fortunately, we, had the foresight to act on that, and we filed for a patent, like I said. But I've talked to others in our space and recently who were like, like within 5 or 10 years, AI is going to be able to do what we do. I said 5 or 10 years. How about 5 or 10 months? Because that's the speed at which this intelligence is moving. Frankly, my CTO, for example, he's a very brilliant guy. He's a certified information security officer. He's consulting the FBI on the use of AI for counterterrorism. He's, high clearance. He's super brilliant guy. But he told me that he unfortunately cries himself to sleep every night because he spent 9 years getting a computer science, engineering degree, going to school, learning how to code, doing all those things, and now he's got, 21, 22-year-old kids who are spurring out code that's just as good, and they never went to school. So the impact of AI on all industries, not just ours, is definitely prevalent. It's changing the way that everybody does things, and we'd like to think we're ahead of the curve in our space in bringing forth a solution, AI-driven solution that can help all businesses to do what we've done for these big companies for over a decade.
Yeah, I mean, you have to take AI as in your advantage. I mean, you are AI-driven business, and my question was about how do you see AI changing the financial audits over the next few years?
Yeah, I mean, uh, frankly, Laurent, I had a podcast that I was a part of a few weeks ago, and a brilliant gentleman that was on the podcast basically came right out and said, if you're in college right now and you're pursuing a degree in accounting, you should drop out. Pretty direct advice, but the concept being that these service related businesses are going to be quickly replaced by AI. We're not excluded from that. What we do is not rocket science. It's a matter of going through a process and being very detailed. That's what AI does very well. Computational AI can digest large amounts of information. Same thing in the field of like law or legal compliance, those areas. If you have an attorney who's reviewing and finding case law, and they're looking at a finite set of information, AI can look at every set of information that's ever existed, and it can do it very quickly. So there are definitely going to be industries that are going to be significantly impacted. We bringing cost savings to the masses of small businesses is a huge advantage. Making sure that they're competitive, giving them the same opportunity that these large enterprise companies have taken advantage of for years. So that's the goal.
Okay, then as you mentioned, you recently secured a patent and are launching a new go-to-market with a membership-based AI model, which is a major strategic transition. Looking ahead, same line, 12 to 18 months, what does success realistically looks like for CostSavings.ai and the expansion of Dollar Bill AI agent?
Sure. So yeah, so like I said, historically we've helped enterprise level companies. Our goal is to enable businesses of all sizes to take advantage of the services that we've offered to these enterprise level companies, but with a simple flat cost to where we can provide valuable insight back to them. And They don't need to know how to use AI. They don't need to know how to prompt and do all those things, all that into one simple platform at CostSavings.com. And we extend that too, so that it's not just the company that's saving, we're saving their employees money as well. So there's a whole aspect of that that's involved. We've got some cool AI tools for direct to consumer as well in there. But that's where I see it go. We would love to help every business because nobody is not at risk of being overbilled for operational expenses. It happens all the time.
Yeah. No, of course, of course. I think there are great advantages for you, many, many things. Would you prioritize product scale, a partnership, or market education first?
So the interesting part about developing and launching a business that involves any aspect of AI is the speed at which it's continuing to improve and develop. So it's a challenge because by the time you come out with something that's effective and a product that you feel is, truly innovative and it's groundbreaking, you get an email and it says, hey, so and so has come out with this next large language model and it's even more capable than the last. And the reality is you're constantly trying to chase this situation where you're not aware of what advantages the next model is going to bring. So when we build out our AI, we build it in a way that's modular so that we can swap out LLMs based on the individual parts and processes, depending on which ones make the most amount of sense or which are most effective. So in that regard, we're constantly making sure that we're ahead of the curve or we're using the latest technology or the most effective solutions in combination because it is difficult when you're trying to develop AI and AI is developing as fast as you're trying to develop your product.
That's for sure. And what would you accelerate immediately if you had fewer constraints? More money, more time.
Yeah, so sometimes small and nimble is better. Sometimes throwing more human resources at it just doesn't really help to accelerate the process. But we are expanding very quickly into multi-layered agentic AI, with orchestration layers and constantly building on that, putting memory in there. And so there's a lot of sophistication to the AI that we've built on the back end to do what it is that we do. Obviously, just continuing to expound on that. As mentioned, we do have the patent. So everything that we do when we build is in line with and falls under the protection of the claims and guidelines of that patent. Constantly trying to improve on and develop the technology. I think that's probably not going to ever stop. It's kind of like a living process where you're continually in a process of improvement and making sure that it's the latest and greatest and has all the features and functionality that the best AI can deliver.
Yeah. No, that's great. Your journey blends consulting discipline with AI product thinking, which is very valuable for founders building hybrid models. Based on everything you have learned building Util Auditors and now cost-saving AI, what should founders in similar service to AI transition model start doing?
Uh, so I would say there's a really large discussion around, traditional SaaS based billing where you're building technology and then there's kind of this, hockey stick growth trajectory where, once you've built the technology, the cost of acquiring a customer, the more customers you acquire, the more revenue you drive. AI presents a number of challenges in that regard because it's token based, so it's usage based. So the more customers you onboard, unless you own the AI, the large language model, you can end up scaling your cost with your revenue. So it's a moving target in a lot of regards. Figuring out a very like finite number of, for example, like tokens that a particular process is going to take. And I'll give you a quick example, right? So, with CostSavings.com, our agentic AI cost pilot with dollar bill, you can upload any expense invoice in there. Some of them might be 100 pages. Some of them might be one page. It could be any different industry, right? So we aren't 100% sure what somebody's gonna load in there. and it makes that cost of goods, that COG figure, kind of a variable. For a lot of investors, I think that's a little scary. We've tried to offset that and couple that by having a downline strategy that incorporates embedded finance and embedded payroll and other solutions for small business owners. So they're kind of getting this cool like AI tool that helps them save money on operational expenses, but also access to discounted services that their business probably needs anyways. And those revenue streams are proven and have a lot of residual value. So they've been around for a long time. So we're kind of coupling the AI to draw the business in. And then, of course, traditional services that have a proven revenue model to augment that.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, how about you? What habit made the biggest operational difference?
What habit?
Yeah, habit of yours.
Geez. I mean, I probably work too much.
Go to the gym,
Yeah, it's
wake
I
up
don't know.
early.
It's yeah, yeah. Wake up early, go to the gym, eat a good breakfast. So all the traditional things. But yeah, we do a lot of research. We really do. So every day we're sharing back and forth, me and my founders, my CTO, we're sharing articles and researching, new technologies that are emerging and solutions that could potentially integrate to, help us skip a step in the process or make a step in the process more efficient or more cost effective. So with AI, it's interesting, the greater the usage, obviously the less expensive service gets, but there are ways and strategies to reduce the computing power that you use to perform a particular function. So we're leveraging things like that with data extraction and vectorization of information and putting it into CSV spreadsheets so that we can more quickly and more cost effectively get through the data. And so there's a lot of layers to it. Short, just trying to stay ahead of the trends, making sure that we're, you know, being as competitive as we can, but also maintaining the efficacy and, uh, the accurate output of the products.
Yeah. Yeah, I love it. I mean, the daily research, it's great. And putting this as a team on a uh, um, daily schedule, it's amazing. What advice will you give your earlier self when you started a company?
Oh, geez. So this company, Util Auditors, was not my first company. So when I started Util Auditors, I got into the cost containment space. It was out of, opportunity. I've since started a few different companies. I have CostSavings.com. Some of them went into development out of necessity. So they were like businesses that complement other businesses that I'm already running. And so I guess if I was to give myself, my past self, any advice for my future self, I'd say be careful biting off more than you can chew. You don't want to be, a master of nothing and a jack of all trades.
Yeah.
You can end up biting off more than you can chew. And unfortunately, my entrepreneurial spirit will not disallow me to pursue the things that I think are great ideas. But at the same time, you have to be realistic about what you can accomplish, and or surrounding yourself with great people to make some of those visions come to life, and not putting everything on yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I love it. But I mean, you haven't done bad. You did a lot of things, but it's almost all good. Bravo. Bill, thank you. Thank you so much for joining. I really appreciate your time. It was
Laurent, thank you
great.
so much for having me. Yeah, absolutely. I had a great time and really appreciate the opportunity to be on the show.
Thank you. Where do people can find you, you and your company, and read about you or the
I
company?
mean, LinkedIn, I'm Bill Kurtzner. I don't think there's another one. So I think I'm one of the only ones on there. Pretty easy to find me there, but costsavings.com, costsavings.ai. You can go to our website. You'll gain a little bit better understanding about how the product works and what it is that we're seeking to do. And so, yeah, we love to talk. If anyone's interested, please feel free to reach out. You can DM me on LinkedIn. I look forward to following up with you, Laurent, in a few months.
Yeah, we'll keep the conversation going. Don't worry. And very strong insight into your journey, your industry. And thank you for the work you're doing at Cost Saving and Util Auditor. Thank you so much.
Thank you as well, sir.
Okay, and that's it for today's episode of AI InterConnect. And if you enjoy it, share it with someone who's building the future, or better yet, someone who should be. And until next time, stay curious, stay creative, and keep building. Thank you, Bill.
Thank you, Laurent.